Hey everybody. So I'm working on a project making some docks, some kind of modular docks to throw in with my other terrain, my other stuff. And these guys, like, they came out looking awesome. I think they look really cool. But just know that I've got a new camera. I got a GoPro, and I've been struggling with it. Like this video right here, this is my DSLR. This is my Nikon, right? And the Nikon shoots beautiful video as long as it doesn't have to focus, because it just, if I like move around, it's just the autofocus on the Nikons is just kind of garbage. I don't know what's going on. The autofocus on the GoPro is pretty amazing. The audio, not so much. So I'm really struggling with getting this kind of dialed in. This is 1080p. This right now is 1080p, right? This is my Nikon's like default settings, and then the GoPro, it shoots up to 4K, and it looks like grainy, like super grainy. Like I've seen people where they talk about how to shoot video with the GoPro, and like they talk about shooting with 4K, and then downgrading to 1080p, for like YouTube and stuff like that. I shot this in 2.7K or 2.4K, whatever it is, and then downgraded it to 1080, and it still looks grainy. So there's some issues with the video. It's not quite up to my standards, but I talk about it in the videos. So anyways, got all of the crafty stuff done, on the video, and I decided it was usable. So anyways, yeah, just know that the video is not up to my usual standards, but it's way smaller and easier to use than my big DSLR, like having it, in front of my face when I'm trying to paint. So anyways, just know that in advance. All right, let's do some painting. Hey everybody, I'm gonna assume that future me kind of told you what's going on, what I'm working on, what this project is. I wanted to make some modular kind of docks for like Frostgrave and D&D and stuff. And so, I was kind of agonizing over like how to do it, what would be the best way to do it, because a couple of things that I wanted to do was that I wanted to have like my grid system still work, where I was thinking about like laying these boards out in a pattern so to like delineate where the grid is, but my solution is kind of elegant. So I'm just gonna leave enough of these boards, like leave spaces in between, so that if we're playing with a map that has like a a grid on it, then we'll be able to just see it through that, So anyways, yeah, I was making these, so I have a few different types of these little craft sticks. These are basswood. I'm pretty sure that all of these are basswood, but they're different thicknesses, and so like they're like coffee stir sticks. I got these guys from Hobby Lobby, I know for sure, and they're cheap. It's like you get a big bag like this for like $3. And then I'm not positive, but I think I got these at Walmart. But they're a thicker, like so that I have different types of lumber kind of going on. And then so I'm using acrylic. I'm using Vallejo Model Air black gray, but I didn't want to use my good airbrush paint. So what I did was I kind of like tacked these guys together with super glue, and you can totally see the super glue. But that's what's holding these together, and when it's done, it's gonna be kind of fragile. So I kind of want to pump these things full of super glue. And then I went out to my yard, and I've been thinking about replacing my mulch with gravel. So, so I was going through my mulch, and I was like, oh, I could use these to make like cool looking dock things. So these parts are like the beams, and then these are the planks. So yeah, these guys are thin enough that basically, where's one? I can just take these and then I can, snap them with my fingers. And using the acrylic paint on them, and I'm just using like a wire brush to kind of get some of the ends, and like create some texture and stuff. But yeah, I'm just like sort of snapping these and like turning them into like interesting little broken pieces. So anyways, yeah, I don't want to use my good airbrush paints to paint these. So what I'm going to use instead is some like dollar store kind of paints. Well, I mean, like everything came from Hobby Lobby. I'll show you what I got. So yeah, I grabbed some super glue, grabbed some craft paint. Hobby Lobby carries Vallejo, if you didn't know. So I got this kind of, verdigris. It's a type of verdigris, green-gray verdigris. So, and then that's going to be for like creating some kind of interesting effects. And then, so these are like, these paints, these are like dollar store paints, and you can find these at like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Walmart, places like that. But these are, these are $1. So anyways, I'm not going to use any more of my good airbrush paints to paint with. I'm going to mix up some of these guys. Oh, and I grabbed one of these, and then these are just mulch, and like this doesn't, it goes on the edge of the table. So I grabbed some different things, and like, these sticks don't look bad, but it works better if it has a good contact point. So I think that these ones where they're kind of squared off do the best job. So I just grabbed some different types of mulch, and then I was kind of experimenting with them because I wanted them to have this look like this really old kind of decrepit dock, moorings, or what do you call it, a jetty, I guess, a jetty. So anyways, yeah, I've been playing with it, but I think that these guys where they're kind of squared off, they look the best. So I'm not going to use any more of my good airbrush paint. I'm going to use dollar store craft paints. And these guys are, the cheapo paints have really lousy coverage, but that's what we want. Because it's going to create that kind of patina effect where it's like they've been sitting out in the rain for 1,000 years, which is, or in the ice, I guess, which is Frostgrave, So I want to use these for Frostgrave, but you could totally use them for like, I think they'd be cool for like Malifaux or War Machine, like there's different, so yeah, so what I do is I take a piece of the bark like this mulch, and then I plop it down into this little, this guy. and then just make some cuts so that it, you know, will lay flat. So yeah, all in, the whole project, I mean, less than $50, you know, like maybe like 40, like $35 for everything. So anyways, I will show you how I'm putting everything together. All right, so I've got a few pieces of these little squared off pieces of mulch, you know, and then I have some pieces of this lumber, you know, that I've already kind of stained. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking a little block of wood that's basically, when I put these guys like this sideways on top of it, it's about an inch. So it's about an inch tall, and that's gonna work well with my, you know, my existing like dungeon tile things that I have, because I have ones that are slightly raised off the ground, and then I have these ones that are low down, and I can sort of mix and match them and, you know, create some cool like elevation stuff. So what I do is I take one piece like this, you know, where this kind of squared off like that, and then I'm going to take another piece on the other side, and I'm putting them about, I'm leaving a space in between of about 2 inches. These guys all, you know, they're going to line up so that it will fit on my grid system. And then I'm using this as a little square, you know, well, it is a square. But like that. So, and then I take some super glue. This is a fresh bottle. It's open. And this is just medium super glue. This is like Hobby Lobby brand, you know. So it's pretty runny. It's not open. I have to punch a hole in this one or clip the top off. But I've been going through super glue, so I'm not gonna buy the good stuff. I'm just gonna use some cheapo Hobby Lobby super glue. Great. Okay. This stuff just, it makes your eyes burn. I'm used to using the good stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of tack it on there. Ugh, sticky. Like that. And I can use a little bit of zip kicker, cyanoacrylate accelerator, you know, to just make it kind of dry instantly. Oh, great. Yeah, do it on camera. You'll look cool. All that does is make super glue just set up instantly. It's just a CA glue accelerator. All right, and then go on the other side, same thing. And I'm gonna repaint these later, but not too much. I'm just gonna let a lot of the wood grain kind of show through. Been going through a lot of super glue. And I am kind of drenching these guys because it's just fragile, you know, so the more glue the better. So I did go ahead and stain these guys a little bit, and I actually got some kind of cool effects on these. Like you can see on this one, like the wood grain popped open, and like it looks like old wood, you know. You can see that. I'm trying a new thing. I got a GoPro, so I'm trying out a new camera right now, so I don't even know if all of this is even usable. Hopefully it is. Hopefully I got the settings right. I had to figure out how to get rid of the fisheye. I had to do a lot to the factory settings for GoPros are not so great. Like the video doesn't look very good. But you can see how having these edges squared off really helps to just have more contact. And then I'm gonna go all around and kind of just drench these guys in super glue from all angles because I want these to be, you know, a little stronger. So that they'll stand up to heavy play. So that's what I'm doing. So I'll come back to it when I'm ready to like lay out some planks. Yeah, if you're watching this, like close to when the video came out, Hobby Lobby is having a big sale on their craft paints, and then their brand of like paintbrushes. And I mean, these aren't good paints, but they're good for certain things. It's a little hard to explain. Like they have really lousy coverage. So you don't want to use your good paints for doing, or your good brushes. Yeah, Craft Smart. You don't want to use your good paints to do like terrain projects. That looks about right. That's not bad. First try. So yeah, I don't want good coverage. I want to make a sort of wash that's thick, like I just want it to soak in there, and then I want it to be really, you know, like wet, and then it's gonna make that wood grain pop out. It's gonna make it look like really old, like aged, weathered wood. So I mean, this is Vallejo Model Air black gray, and then that's, you know, this is like, oh, I don't know, it's at least like, I think it's $5 a bottle, and then these are $1 a bottle, and then you can make just a big old thing of wash, you know, or whatever, and it's super cheap. But then I'm gonna go back in on to like cover up some of that super glue. So I already kind of stained these guys, but I want to kind of cover up some of the super glue hazing stuff. And I do want this wood to look nice and old. So, and you know, like usually you want to paint light to dark. But mostly this is just going to seep into that wood and then create a kind of, if you wanted to not have the wood like warp and do weird things, then what you should do is paint it first with like a spray paint. Hobby Lobby's having a sale on Krylon too. I kind of grabbed a bunch of crap. Just, you know, you would hit it with like an enamel spray paint first, and then it won't warp, you know, and then when you paint on top of it with the acrylics, it will. But this is the opposite of that. Like, we want it to warp, and we want it to, you know, the wood grain to pop out and get this, it's going to create more of a weathering effect. And that's going to be the first layer of weathering. But I don't want good coverage. I want watery, you know, like cheapo paint coverage. Vallejo model air is the good stuff. So we're going to use the cheap stuff. Okay, just get some all over. You can see how the super glue kind of protects the, you know, it keeps the color from seeping in. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to stain these guys first and then put it together. But this is going to be fine. I can still airbrush over it. And that part is going to be covered up with wood planks anyway, so. But that's a little better. That's more like what I want it to look like. Kind of more like that than that. But you can see how these guys just has lousy coverage. There's just tons of coffee staining, and that's what we want, you know, all over our fingers. So here you can see kind of like the pattern. So, you know, like I'm just kind of going back and forth. There isn't really a whole lot of pattern to it. It's kind of random, but I am, you know, I'm trying to have some of my grid, you know, show through, so that when we move guys on this, when I move guys on it, then I'm like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, you know, because it's like, if you're using this scale, an inch square is 5 feet square. Or like Frostgrave, you know, then I can say, okay, he moves 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, like that. Which just really, really speeds up play. And it's like, it just makes it more enjoyable to me if I can use like a grid system, you know, with my minis, personally. And then if I wanted to do something else, you know, if I wanted to actually use like a tape measure or whatever if I was using these for like, I don't know, H Sigma or whatever, then I can do that too. I can just use it as a, you know, a terrain piece. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these guys down, and it's just going to be the same thing. I'm just going to use some CA glue to tack them on. And yeah, don't worry too much about like having a pattern, because you want it to be kind of like random and broken. And yeah, these guys, these planks, you know, they're different colors and stuff, so yeah. So, and then I guess if you're, yeah, when you're doing it, you know, just take your plank and then kind of line it up, and then, you know, draw a line. And I even like how the boards are like uneven, you know, so it creates some cool looking shapes and stuff, like where things just don't, you know, they don't quite like match up the way that they're supposed to. Creates a cool effect. And then if I want to reinforce them, you know, I can do things like that, like lay other planks on top of them. And, you know, if I want to cover up boo-boos and stuff too. So far, this CA glue is drying pretty non-gloss, which is great, because it's just one less thing that I have to worry about, you know. But you know, like reinforcing these guys is going to help. Just make this piece a lot stronger. I could make a permanent base for it, you know, and make it into something, but ideally I would like to have it be a little more modular than that, where it doesn't have a base. But yeah, that's the idea. Okay, so this guy is dry. There's still some super glue that's kind of drying a little bit, but like, I started, forgotten that. I guess I didn't glue everything down. There's still some pieces that need to be glued down. But I started on like this side, and you can see that this, well, that's still thick, but like, a lot of this super glue is pretty hard to see. It dried really non-gloss, which is great. I mean, you know, I'm going to be looking at it from this angle anyways, and it's a so it takes up like a 6x6 square, the whole thing, which is perfect. You know, that's exactly what I so I'm thinking that I'm just going to have it be I'm gonna have these be sections, like my, you know, like my dungeon tiles, and then all of my dungeon tiles are based on a like a 4x4 combinatorics up to a foot. So like my largest tile is going to be a foot, my smallest tile is going to be 4x4, but I can do, you know, multiples of 4, or, you know, like 6 to make foot tiles. So yeah, everything is on, like, smallest is 4x4, and then largest is a foot. So so I'm going to do the same thing with these. I'm just going to have them be different sizes, and you might super glue. So this is the good stuff. Look, it's like melting the cap. I did like pump this thing full of super glue because I want it to stay together. Jeez. It's such a mess today. Okay, so yeah, 6x6. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some airbrushing. So I'm gonna use some. I don't know what this is. It's Iraqi something sand. I really like this color. I have no idea how it's pronounced. Maybe Iroquois. I think that's like like a Native American tribe or something, or it could be Iraqi. So I'm gonna use some of my DIY airbrush thinner, and I did a video about this stuff. It's mostly Windex. Oh, this guy's still closed. It's mostly Windex and rubbing alcohol, but it has a there's another ingredient in it that's like a flow improver, a surfactant. There's a wetting agent in there, and then there's some different stuff that's in there that just really helps it go through the airbrush. And it works really well as an airbrush thinner too. I need a little more than that. But it just helps to go through the airbrush super smoothly. And I know you would think like Windex, that's going to turn it blue, but it doesn't. It just works way better than thinning it with water. And I also used Clean After, and I did a video about it. Just check out my look on my channel, look for my DIY airbrush thinner cleaner quick change solution. So I want it to be about skim milk. Don't want dog hair in there either. That's about enough. I'm not gonna use cheapo craft paint in my hard-earned Steenbeck, but I will use Vallejo. Man, I really hope all this video comes out. All of this dialogue and all this, because I don't want to have to do all this over again. I hope that the GoPro is actually doing a decent job shooting. Or else this is going to be my test piece. So now I'm gonna make a wash with this new color. This green gray. And I'm gonna do it the same way. I'm gonna use some of my thinner. And it has a little bit of flow improver in there, so that's gonna help. just want that kind of bleached out looking wood, you know. But the airbrush did get rid of the can't see any frosting from the super glue, you know, so that's good. But this is going to create some natural, you know, highlights and shadows. Kind of draws your eye in. I mean, it looks natural, looks like natural wood, but I want my highlights to be on the places where the sun is hitting, and then I want my shadows to be, you know, down here, because that's natural. I don't want it to look totally washed out, you know. I do want to keep some of the darks in the wood, but I want to create some, you know, sunlight. This is why you paint from dark to light, you know. So you create your shadows first, and then you put in your highlights last. That's the very last step. In fact, I think I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing. I like this color. I do like it. It's a cool color. Yeah, I'm gonna take a piece of paper towel, put that down there. I still haven't glued all these guys down. Oh, jeez. Okay, all right, last glue one. Last glue job. I really wish I would have done that before I started putting more super glue on, but oh well. So I have to track where everything was. Okay. So now I'm going to use some of this just straight. I'm not going to dilute it or anything. Put a little bit down. And I'm going to use a makeup brush. And use like a medium-sized makeup brush. And these are good just because they're super cheap. I mean, not that you can't get them clean. I don't have a problem getting them clean. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start at the tippy top, you know, because I want my highest highlights to be on the highest parts of the model. And then I'll work my way down. But if I get some more, you know, definition on these guys, like more kind of weathering look, and you know, I can dull down this too with some weathering pigments. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But I do want to start. I want to start at the top. And I want my highest highlights to be up here, and then, you know, have my darkest shadows be on the bottom. Or under things, if that makes sense. I want the highest highlights to be, you know, at the top. So, when I was in art school, we did this kind of exercise where we call it a window shade drawing. And basically you try and do like as photorealistic of a drawing as possible, and then you start at the top and work your way down to the bottom. But the object is just an exercise to kind of make you understand like light and shadow. Alright, so now I'm going to do some weathering with some pigments. I like to use pan pastels, but you could use something like this, one of these weathering, it's like a makeup compact. In fact, it comes with like one of these, a little makeup kind of brush, and then you can just kind of, put a little bit on. But I'm gonna use a sort of a deep brown, a burnt umber, I think. And I'm going to use a fan blender. And this isn't like a normal dry brush because the pigments sort of collect more in the cracks, in the recesses. Try and show you like a good close-up. I don't know how good you can see that. It's kind of subtle, but it sort of goes into the cracks. It doesn't, you can sort of do it where you're picking up highlights, but it sort of wants to like settle in the recesses because you're pushing it in there. And then you have to seal it down with something. You have to put down a like a lacquer, or something on top of it, because basically it'll come up like when you're touching it. Or, you want to seal your paint jobs anyways, because you're gonna get like Cheeto dust on them, when you're playing with them at your friendly local gaming store, So it just protects your paint job, and it just sort of seals everything down, because these are basically like they're just pigments. There's no binder. Like in paint, you have a binder. It's a in acrylic, it's like a what do you call it? It's a polymer. It's like a plastic, And with oil paints, you're like, the binder is the oil. It just sort of dries and then makes like a permanent kind of, permanent layer. And that seals down the pigments. But here we're just sort of brushing them on, and then have to do something to make sure that they stay on. And you're probably thinking like, oh, it looks like wood again. But, keep in mind that these were all different types of wood. And, they have different grains and different, and then this just sort of pulls it all together and makes it look like one kind of cohesive object. you know? So maybe I'll put some of this gray on too. Yeah, I like that. All right, I'm gonna take it outside and I'm gonna hit with some dull coat. I like Model Masters and Testers. Well, I guess they're both Testers. I think Model Masters is Testers. I like Model Masters and Testers dull coat or clear coat lacquer. And lacquer you can just keep spraying more on and it'll just soak in. So, you know, it's like Japanese lacquer. Kind of going off on a tangent, but lacquer will just keep soaking into wood and keep protecting it. Okay, so I went ahead and sealed everything down, all the pigments and everything, and you can see how when you seal it, it really dulls down the pigments. It's a subtle effect. So you can see some of this super glue, like frosting stuff, you know, around here. It's actually kind of an interesting effect. Like, I actually like it, especially since I want to use these for Frostgrave, you know? But I don't think that I could really recreate it if I wanted to. It's just a kind of a reaction, you know, of like the super glue kind of dripping off of there. I mean, it does look cool. But what I was thinking of doing was sort of covering it up with something. So I was watching this guy's channel, Jason Jensen, and he does model railroad stuff. And he did this thing where he made some docks and for, you know, one of his train layouts, and he put barnacles all over his dock. So I think I'm going to kind of copy that. I'm going to copy his technique. And, you know, like, I know, like, probably barnacles wouldn't be in the frozen city. There would be ice, you know, on the docks, but, you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's gonna look cool. So I'll show you what this technique is. It's pretty cool. So I've got some model railroad ballast, this stuff, and then I'm just gonna kind of glue it on to make barnacles, you know. So I'm actually really digging this like frosted look. So maybe I can kind of recreate that a little bit. I'm just going to use some super glue and, so we'll try it on the base. We'll try it on the bottom. You know what I should do is put down some parchment. I know this thing is gross. It's like, this is my art studio, you know, like, sorry, but not sorry, like, so that's how they look, you know? And then, like, I'm gonna put some wash on top of that and then dry brush them later. But, I want to put some, like, kind of like green, sort of like algae wash on there. And this looks more like, I don't know, like, I'm picturing like Maine or something than, you know, frozen north, but so far I'm digging the effect. So I'm gonna put a piece of parchment down. Okay, so I'm gonna do this on the bottoms of these guys. Just sprinkle it on there. a really cool looking effect, actually. I like it a lot. You could probably do this with fake snow too. But I'm gonna be using these for like D&D and stuff, and I want them to be, you know, really, just really modular. And do them all, use them for all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna kind of hide my boo-boos and stuff, you know? Glad I bought a cheap jar of super glue. Okay, so I went around on this guy all over the place and just put, you know, barnacles everywhere. But you know, I'm covering up like drippy spots, super glue drippies. And honestly, you know, the more super glue that I pump into this thing, the better, because it's just fragile, you know? So, if I don't want to, like, it's surprisingly sturdy for what it is, like a bunch of popsicle sticks glued together. But I don't want to test it, you know, like I don't want to like drop it on the floor. It is sturdy, but I just feel like the more I pump it full of super glue, the better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint these, and I think I'm going to use some Agrax Earthshade first. Okay. Yeah, and you know, like if it's glossy, sometimes I have issues with like Citadel, like their shades and stuff, you know, or like contrast paints, and they just sometimes mine like to dry glossy. I don't know why. If I don't shake them up like super good, sometimes they dry glossy. I might even use, I have some inks that are really glossy. That actually might look better. You know what? That's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. Okay, change of plan. I'm gonna use some Liquitex, and Liquitex just it is a color fast ink. It has a polymer in it, so this is more like an acrylic paint. But it does seem to want to dry a little bit glossy. And you know, like that's not a bad thing because this is where the my docks are going to be meeting the water. In fact, I think I'll use this and some other inks. These definitely dry glossy. These Amsterdam, these are like cheapo. I mean, they are artist inks, they are color fast, but they're they like to dry pretty gloss. Can't really paint with these. So I'm just gonna use a crapped out sable. Don't want to use my good brushes. I'm just gonna paint on there with this stuff. Mix in a little green. Yep, definitely don't hate it. Even if it dries like super glossy, that's fine because it can be wet. Okay, so that's how that looks, and it's not dry yet, but when it is dry, so I have a dry spot. Ooh, I should cover that up. When it is dry, then I want to dry brush over it. So I'm gonna use some Vallejo. I'm gonna use some Game Color Stonewall Gray to do a little dry brushing on those barnacles. I mean, it wouldn't look bad on the wood either. So I think I'm going to use a small dry brush. I have like different sizes of dry brushes, you know, or makeup brushes. So yeah, I don't even know if I finished my train of thought when I was talking about these, but the makeup brushes are great because they're super cheap. They're like $2. And you know, they're like, I've heard of people having trouble cleaning them. I don't have that problem, you know. I just clean them like I would clean a normal brush. But they are dirt cheap, you know. They're only like $2. I've got them at Target. I get these at Target, and then they're, you know, like literally $2, or like a big one. A big guy like this is like $6. And I have yet to go through one. I use them all the time on my terrain and stuff. So anyways, I'm gonna pick a dry-ish spot. I mean, if it's slightly damp, it's okay. It'll smooth out the dry brush. And I'm just gonna go around and kind of pick out some little spots to kind of create some highlights. But these guys are supposed to be in shadows. You know, I think I want to cover up some of the staining too on the boards. So I might do a little dry brushing on top of this too, just to kind of cover up where the my inks kind of stain the lumber, because I want that to look dry. But where the barnacles are, I want that to look wet. Such a great color, Stonewall Gray. All right, yeah, you made it. It's a long video, I know, and like I know I talk a lot, and yeah. So I really like these guys. You know, I think they're really cool. The project it's like it ticks off a lot of boxes for me. Like not too expensive, and not too difficult, and sometimes I actually get sick of painting, you know, when I want to do something else. Like I want to do something where I'm just working with like wood, you know, or whatever. And but these guys are very utilitarian. Like I'm gonna make more of these because I can think of so many things that I could use them for, like different games. Like I mean, I'm definitely gonna be using them for like Frostgrave and D&D, but I could totally see how these would fit in with like Malifaux or War Machine, or just any kind of like pirate game, or like even like Wild Blast or whatever. So very, very utilitarian piece. Got all of my little sea creatures up here, having a meeting up on the docks, talking about how they're gonna raise Dagon. But yeah, that's it. If you guys liked the video, if you enjoyed it, or if you want to see more content like this, consider dropping a like or subscribing. It's been really cool to see my channel grow a lot during the outbreak. I banged out a lot of videos, social distancing, staying in the house, painting and stuff, But anyways, yeah, take care of yourselves and stay calm and hobby on.